Greetings, I'm Septum Sen, and this is Septum Sen versus the World. I'm here with Kotobuki Jake.
Hi.
He's back from our hiatus for Labor Day. I don't know, did you work during Labor Day?
No.
Oh, well, good.
Monday's Library Day. I had the same holiday you do.
Yeah, but you could have worked at the other one. Yeah, so, you know.
Well, yeah, they were only open a half day, but yeah.
But, so what you been watching
Yard
lately?
work done. What's that?
What you been watching lately?
Actually, I did not fully expect to enjoy this as much as I did, but last night I finally saw the Korean zombie film. You know, that right there, you're probably like, what?
Oh, really?
The Korean zombie film Train to Busan.
Oh, good film.
It's actually really good, yeah.
Very intense.
Oh, yeah. A little melodramatic, but it's good. Anytime you get a movie where you get so pissed off at a particular character, that's always kind of interesting. But let's see, and I've knocked out a couple. What was the other one right before that? Was the oh geez, they're running together a little bit. Oh well, I'll try and think of it. I'll probably be watching the second Trainspotting tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. Yeah.
I've been in my lineup watching an odd one for me. I'm actually currently working my way through Astro Boy, the second series, because there are 3 big series if I remember. There's the old one, the original, then there's one they did in the 80s, and then there's the one they did in the early 2000s. Now the one in the 2000s is actually the only one that's super easy to get. The others are out of... I don't know, is the other one out of print? The first one? I know the second one is.
I don't remember precisely what has been released. I feel like one of those sets was incomplete.
Well, both of them are incomplete.
Yeah.
It's keep in mind, the original Astro Boy, some of the negatives were lost. So, unfortunately, it's never going to be complete.
It's a shame.
It is. It's actually because it's one of the foundations of anime, of Japanese animation, period. But the second series is out of print, and I found it for $30. And, it was well worth the buy. Very different. I'm probably in the 20-some episode range right now, and it's got 50 episodes, almost halfway through. I've been enjoying it, actually. There's a lot of surprising depth and good writing. I mean, there are some things that irk me about it, and that's going to come out in the review, but, I mean, just to say that the people are stupid. And they've not given me any indication that they're going to get any smarter. They make regular political crowds look intelligent. I mean, the people in like the witch hunting parties that are like carrying the torches, they're smarter.
Wow.
And that's a pretty impressive leap. But
what about random co-eds in horror films?
Probably about even. I could see these people hiding behind the wall of chainsaws to escape the villain.
You'll never see me here.
Yeah. But that's really what I've been into. It's been pretty much all of it. I've got a couple things that are going to be reviewed. I mean, Hidamari Sketch, Brave 10. I even watched a Disney film not too long ago, which is not too bad. Revisiting my past. You know, the old Paul Bunyan cartoon and the, what was it, Johnny Appleseed?
Right.
I don't know if you watched Disney when you were... I think you watched some Disney.
I think I saw those at one point, but it's not ringing a bell.
It's like I remembered them back in the day. Got them cheap, and then have been sitting in my collection gathering dust.
Right.
So now they've been watched.
Well, my more recent viewing is a lot of it's been animation. I've finally finished Volume 2 of American Dad. And there's an episode right near the end where there's a major character, the Ghost of Christmas Past, I think it was, this version of it. And I was like, she sounds so familiar. And then at the end, I saw the credits. I was like, "Oh, Lisa Kudrow. Oh, that's why." It's always fun when you can realize that oh wow, I do know voices.
Actually, I did finish one Netflix series. Like a major accomplishment for me, because I'll prioritize Mother. But I finished Worst Witch, season 1.
I need to see that one of these days.
Well, it is the origin of Harry Potter. I mean, she borrowed extremely heavily from that.
Right.
And as somebody as litigious as J.K. Rowling is about her stuff being taken, it's surprising that she's guilty herself of borrowing heavily.
Right.
And,
well, I mean, people borrow all this. I was hearing this thing on the radio on the way home of like the big 60s anthem, We Shall Overcome, is apparently based off of a long history folk song. And apparently the songwriters, including Pete Seeger, songwriters basically changed a couple words and the tune and got a copyright. Not to knock them, I'm just saying, like, well, isn't that something? So
yeah.
It's funny. And of course, whenever my stuff gets published, I'm worried that someone somewhere is going to say the same thing about my stuff. It's like, it's all been done, as they say.
It is as it is, but it is worth watching. You should definitely check it out if you get a chance. The original Worst Witch movie is easily available. You can get it cheap usually in most places. It has, I just watched it this weekend, and I can't think of the guy's name. Tim Curry. It has Tim Curry as like the big wizard in the movie. So.
Oh, he's not the Worst Witch?
No, he's not the Worst Witch. But and that's where we were this weekend, is for it. Did you get to see it?
Not yet. I intend to.
Well, I've watched it.
I probably should have, if only because you heard all the sort of back and forth between King and the Trump supporters about it and everything.
Oh, what are they saying about it this time?
Well, Trump blocked Stephen King from his Twitter feed.
Well, yeah.
And then Stephen King said, okay, I'm blocking Trump from watching it or Mr. Mercedes. And apparently some Trump supporters came back and said, okay, no one go see it. And that did not work. No, you saw that's like shattered all these records.
But it is. It's probably...
I've heard it's good. I've heard it's real good.
It made up for the lackluster Dark Tower release, though I would have preferred that to be the upgrade. But they weren't even sure they were going to make the second movie. That's something I had heard. Now they're sure.
Oh, for it?
Yeah. And,
I'm sure it was a formality. They were just waiting for those opening figures.
Yeah. Now I'm pretty sure that any lights that need to be lit have been done. It was very well done. I actually think it's superior to the original one that I've seen as a child, and it was, like I say, it was very well done. The clown was very scary, which, I'm not that scared of clowns, so it doesn't really. And the voice acting was good, and well, not voice acting, the acting was good. And
I'm sure the voice acting was a good part of the overall acting, but I could be wrong.
And they did decide to leave out the child gangbang scene that they had in the book, which I think was a wise decision on their part. I could be wrong.
Well, you know the book better than I do, so...
Yeah, that's probably the lowest point of that. The less time I give that comment, the better. It's worth a read. Just skip over that part.
And yeah, we're 9 minutes in without a review. We should probably start with that.
Yeah, I figure it's good to start out with some news.
Yeah.
Trying to make this more of what they call a podcast of sorts.
Right.
But I will start, and we have some Jack Lemmon movies.
Oh.
This 2-film thing with Avanti and Irma LaDouce. Which I don't know why I kept wanting to say Irma LaDouche.
You sure it's not Irma LaDouche?
Well, it's...
I don't know.
I'm actually not certain. Is it it's set in Paris, so it would definitely not be Duce.
Okay, then La Douce probably. Yeah.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
know French Paranoid. Yeah.
Because, they wouldn't pronounce it like that.
Yeah.
Now, if it was Italian,
Hey, Mr.
definitely in there.
Yeah.
But I've never seen either of these, but I've heard of them reputation-wise.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this one got a nomination for an Oscar.
I think you're right.
This one got an actual win,
Oh.
which is why it arrived in there. It was $2, which I'd gone on my stuff and I said anything under like $3 I will add in a moment of weakness, and this was one of those. So I'm glad to have it in my actual collection now. It looks pretty good. I mean, do you know much about this? You know much more about Oscar stuff than I do.
Yeah, but I've never seen either of those. And they're
Jack Lemmon.
Let me see when these came out. Well, Shirley MacLaine, that's always good. So we got 1963 Billy Wilder film. Okay, well I'll definitely have to see that. And that's Irma Deuce. And then 72 for the other one, Avanti. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, that's going to be that's a pretty good buy for $2.
Yeah, that's what I say. Not bad.
I want those. And Lemmon, of course, was a great actor. He maybe not like brilliant, but he was always a lot of fun. And yeah, any of those old ones are worth checking out.
Well, I keep my watch list up on Amazon. I want to make sure that I. So, what have you got for us today?
All right, my first one is an interesting. It's my whole stack tonight is. I just realized I was just talking, looking away. My whole stack tonight is going to be library pickups. I actually have some new stuff to bring in next week, but this one is one that I. Not even positive I'd ever heard of it before, but British television is typically expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And it's always worth checking out, getting it if you can get it cheap. And as I have stated before, I believe on this channel, I've got a decent British collection, but I'm trying to expand it, and I'm also trying to expand my familiarity with British television. I've seen a modest amount, but nowhere near what, compared to American or even Japanese television, I'm nowhere near as well versed. But this one is a show from the early 80s, and I managed to pick up the entire series, which in British parlance means series 1 and 2, 15 total episodes. It's a show from the early 80s called Hallelujah. And it's basically about a group of Salvation Army nurses, pretty much. It's supposed to be a comedy, and it's supposed to be a very, apparently a very well-renowned comedy, at least in Britain. But, like I said, not quite as well-known here. As I may have stated before, I definitely enjoy British humor. I know it's way too dry for a lot of Americans, but I like it. And I'm very much looking forward to this. I know very little about it, but an entire British series for $2 had to jump on it. So you said you've not even heard of that?
Never heard of it. That's why I kept looking at the box. Like, what's that? It's pretty and yellow. And
yeah, it jumped out at me. I was like, wow, that's a bright box.
I was trying to figure out what she was holding. It was a tambourine.
Yes.
And, so I guess she's just like,
yeah.
On that. So let's see. What else can I pull out of my butt here?
Ooh.
All right. So, The Apparition. Now, this again, Impulse. I get a lot of stuff on Impulse. I really like the people who produce this, which is Dark Castle Entertainment. Dark Castle's best known for their horror remakes that they did back in the early 2000s, mainly when we were going to school, late 90s, early 2000s. They did the House on Haunted Hill remake. They did the Ghost Ship remake. They did 13 Ghosts, that remake.
Some very highly rated movies.
If you're into horror, it's really a good.
Right.
It's really good there. And then they went away from it for a while, and they decided we're going to branch out, do a lot of action, do some drama. Still fairly low budget stuff, but for the most part, stuff like Rock and Rolla, stuff like that. But I wanted to get the rest of the horror that they did intersperse throughout this. So the Apparition is one of the more recent things that they actually released, horror-wise, and it looks interesting. It's, a ghost-type movie. I like ghost-type movies. I don't know much about it. I don't even know the people there. I guess, you got somebody from Gossip Girl, but I don't know anything about Gossip Girl, so...
Well, Sebastian Stan's the dude what played Bucky in the Captain America movies.
Was he? There you go.
Yeah,
Something. So there you go. It's going to be as good as the Captain America movies, right?
Wow, that'd be hot praise, wouldn't it?
So, which I'm sure we would have heard of it otherwise. But if any of y'all ever heard of this one, definitely.
It may be as good as the original Captain America movies from, what was it, the 70s?
I've watched those. But did you know anything about this?
I know of it, but that's about it. I don't know, when did that come out? Was that super recent or a few years back?
Let's see here.
I feel like that was 3 or 4
2011.
Yeah, so a few years ago.
Yeah, it's not that long ago, but still.
I can't say that I know much about it. You'll have to let me know if I'd be interested. So actually, the next one up is another British program. I actually have 3 tonight.
British theme tonight.
Yeah, and it's weird. Actually, someone turned in. Man, there's some stuff that I already had, but I was like, whoever gets it's getting a deal. But this one, unfortunately, is a show that it's only 1 season, but it is the first season. I'm not sure how many seasons there are of this yet, but this is one that has been fairly popular with our patronage. It's a show called Silent Witness, and it's one of those procedural type programs. It's basically a CSI type forensic pathology sort of show. Should be interesting. I've heard decent things about it. Like I said, I know it's popular. And it is just the 1 season, but still, 1 season for $2, I couldn't turn it down. I don't really necessarily know the cast in this one. They're like vaguely familiar names, but still should be pretty good. So I'm looking forward to finally getting to one day down the road, because that's going to be a minute, but one day.
I'm curious, but police procedural kind of turns me off these days. I've seen so many of them.
Right.
It just, yeah. But,
Actually, one of the shows that's going to have to wait on is CSI.
There you go.
And CSI Miami.
See,
got a little bit of each of those.
I've been burned out because SVU was playing in the background a lot, and I have a hard time with that one. But, everything's a police procedural these days, it seems.
Yeah.
But, guess I'll grab another one from storage.
Okay.
This is one I thought was an Oscar winner, but it's a different one called by this name. So I ended up getting something that I could like. The Assault. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the actual Oscar-winning film, but this one is a different film. This is about a hijacking. Because they're trying to like fly a plane into the Eiffel Tower, and this may actually be based off of a true story, even though it says it is. How true that really is up for debate. So, it's not terrible. I'm curious. I'm willing to look at it and see whether I like it or not, and whether it will remain in the collection or whether it will go away.
Go away.
So, and there's going to be a lot of going away, because I'm going to be moving my collection ever so slowly, starting probably late next month, early November. You're going to be seeing these shelves get a little bit emptier. So I'm going to be very particular about what actually stays in my collection and what goes. And that's going to be my opportunity to go, what is it that I want to keep? So, The Assault, maybe good, maybe bad, don't know. Do you know anything?
Not particularly, and I was trying to look it up on IMDb, but
You pull up the wrong one.
well, this is not. Oh wait, that. No, IMDb doesn't like me sometimes. It just depends. The more I want to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible, the more annoying it's going to be. But
There's no such thing as quick and efficient.
no. The assault. There we go. So you have the assault with Vincent Albaz and Gregory Denguer. 2010 release.
2011, but yeah, probably close enough.
There's a bunch of different assaults.
Mary Gouliard. I looked it up once.
6.1 rating.
Yeah,
Not too bad. But I was trying to. There's like 4 different movies with that title. It took me forever
I
to
think
figure
it'll
out
be
which
a
one.
decent action pick. I'm not going to be too upset about it.
Alright, so my next one, the third British program, is also sort of a procedural type one. I think this one is more on the detective work versus the forensic pathology. This is one that I've been wanting to watch, if nothing else, if only because it stars Helen Mirren, and she's awesome. This is a show called Prime Suspect.
I love the case.
And well, yeah, this one has a cool case, and apparently several, if not all, the seasons come in this case. But unfortunately,
Except
this
for
one
that
is
one.
a more this one's a more typical, But this is the final act. This is the last season of 7. There's 7 series to this one. I'm hoping to get the rest of them in this case, but even so, it was worth jumping on this for $2, even if the case doesn't end up matching the set. Two out of 7 for $4 total will end up saving me a lot. But these are, I think there's 5 episode series. I'm not positive on that. I'll have to double check. But like I said, they star Helen Mirren as a detective who obviously is trying to hunt the prime suspect.
Well,
One of the seasons, I don't know if I haven't looked if it's one of these two. One of the seasons co-stars Ray Fine. And there's also a bunch of other big names who show up at least once, So for credits, if nothing else, this is a valuable get.
Yeah.
But it looks interesting. It's a popular series. I'm not as harsh on these kind of shows as you are. I don't usually seek them out, but I don't mind watching them now and then for something different.
It's more of a burnout, I think, than anything else. So.
Yeah, I haven't quite reached that point of burnout. But like I said, that's definitely, 2 out of 7's not bad. I'll eventually try to track down the others. It is a piece, so I'm not going to be watching it anytime soon. And having only the end of the series is another reason I'm not going to be watching anytime soon. But if I can get a good deal on the other seasons, then, I have to look for an eBay bundle, the first 4 for $20 or something. All right.
So, I have nothing else to say on that one other than Helen Mirren is good in most things she does. So, that's probably.
Yeah. She was strangely disappointing in Eye in the Sky, but she's been great in most everything else I've seen. So,
So what do I have next? I have Back to the Future, the cartoon series.
Ooh. I do not remember that.
I and I mean vaguely remember this. I don't remember much about any of this. I feel like it's an older one.
Yeah.
Actually, it is an older one. I remember this now because they had the live stuff with Doc Brown himself. They had some live cutscenes with him. You can actually see one of those on the back there. You can see there.
I think I remember that.
And he'd do his little experiments. It kind of takes you back to the time where it's Saturday morning, you're up at like 6 a.m. eating waffle cereal or whatever you like cereal-wise. Cracker Jacks or
Well, let's see, mid 80s.
Or
Let's see, it would have been
falafel.
like Honeycomb, probably Tricks,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of Lucky Charms.
But like most of them, they were just kind of gimmicky shows that, hey, look, these movies are out. Let's see if we can cash in on the movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of these are coming out again. And this was actually really cheap. I mean, this was $10 when I got it on
How
Amazon.
many episodes is it?
It's like 26 episodes.
Oh,
So, it's all of the series, and I'm gonna actually look forward to seeing this, relive a little bit of it. I like Back to the Future. It was a decent, and this was a decent show from what I remember, but I last watched this when I was really young, so.
And it was last October where they were celebrating the date of the second one was
Yeah.
like last year. And I actually got to go see the back-to-back theatrical screening of the first two movies. That was kind of cool.
Oh, that would have been
But
fun to see.
this one I barely remember, if at all. That is some really cruddy looking artwork.
This is like the 80s, 90s artwork, so
Right.
don't expect.
It probably
high
was
quality.
like the late 80s. So you can sit there and watch that and relive your childhood, and then when it's over, you'll be back to the future, right?
Oh yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, Bill Nye is also involved in this.
Oh, he is?
Oh yes.
Oh.
So again, fun stuff. I mean,
Good
I'm sure I'm
times.
going to enjoy watching this. Give me a little bit of that nostalgia. I mean, I'm waiting for the Teen Wolf animated series, but they've delayed the release again.
So, speaking of nostalgia, and in this case, 80s nostalgia, my next two are actually both very nostalgia. One taps into 80s nostalgia for a wide range of Americans, and one is very nostalgic for me personally. But speaking of 80s nostalgia, a movie I don't think I ever saw growing up.
That you don't see very
Yep.
often.
Hey, Khalees. Is Footloose.
Is that the original or the remake?
Kevin Bacon and John
Okay,
Lithgow.
that's
this
that is the original.
Yes, I don't believe I've seen this, but it probably was within the last 10 years.
Oh, excellent.
So I'm like one of the few people who didn't grow up with it, who basically was alive at that time. It is very much from what I remember. You could call it very much a product of the 80s, an anthem for the 80s.
Yeah.
Certainly, Let's Hear It for the Boy and Footloose were like anthems for the 80s. They still are. You can't escape them.
I didn't grow up with like I said, I didn't grow up with the film. I grew up with the soundtrack to the film.
Yeah. So everyone knows the soundtrack. And again, this is one of the originations of the Kevin Bacon's in everything joke. This is like one of the early movies that helped put him on the map. John Lithgow is always fun.
Oh yeah.
I'm about 99.9% sure I don't have a copy of this, but now I do.
Now you could be 100% sure.
Now I could be 100% I do. But it's amazing that I went so long without it. But there's a lot of I don't have the Terminator movies. There's a few of those from the 80s that I just haven't gotten to. So I'm slowly knocking them out. I kind of look forward to seeing this again. It never was my, the kind of thing I would be like, oh, that's going to be like the greatest film ever. But it's definitely going to be worth seeing again. Yeah.
I mean, I actually didn't watch it for the first time until the early 2000s. Like I said, I'm very familiar with the soundtrack, though. I got to hear it all the time. And back when I was growing up. And I'm not sure whether a Blu-ray version of the film would be worth it, but if they remastered the music, maybe.
Well, yeah, if they could clean up, that... Because, honestly, you could almost say Footloose, even though it's a, it's a pure 80s pop.
Yeah.
But it's probably on any list of the top 10 80s. If you think 80s, you think that song.
Oh, yeah. Kenny Loggins was like on top of the world at that time.
Yeah, between that one, I'm All Right, Danger Zone,
exactly. He was just like on top of the world.
Yeah, well.
So.
And yet, I recently listened to a Greatest Hits is, and I was like, this is one of the most boring CDs I've ever played. I love Danger Zone, And the other songs those two are good. You know, I'm Alright is a fun song, but
yeah.
his non-movie stuff.
And that's the thing, is he's very different from that. I mean, he's very mild, very, very, almost very G-rated.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I feel about his G-rated stuff. But I have one more, and this one is California Suite. Now, I don't know a lot about this, other than it is an Oscar winner.
Yep.
And it does have one heck of a cast, as I said. I believe it's a comedy.
Isn't that one of the ones Maggie Smith won for?
I don't know, but I know that it had there. But you know, you got Michael Caine, Alan Alda, Bill Cosby, Jane Fonda, Walter Matthau, Eleni May, Richard Pryor, Maggie Smith, and more, as it says on the title.
Not to mention, it's a, if I remember correctly, written and directed by Neil Simon, isn't it? Or written by him. Okay, well, written by Neil Simon. So yeah, I mean, that's a pedigree there.
Again, this was in that impulse buy of $3 or less, and I need this for my Oscar winnings, so it was bought. So, California Suite. I don't know if it's any good. Have you seen it?
I've seen it once, and it's probably been... Yeah. I think it's probably been close to 10 years, if not longer. I don't remember it well, but I remember enjoying it. I wasn't blown away, but I enjoyed it. And I was glad to have it, and I'm glad to see it. And that is one hell of a cast. So it's like, you know.
Despite the negatives, I'm curious to see Bill Cosby in another movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the last movie I watched him in was not exactly...
Well, Leonard Part 6?
Yes, actually, that's the last movie I've watched with Bill Cosby in it.
One of the greatest films.
I'm sure it's better than Leonard Part 6.
It is. All right. So, we got the last one, I guess?
Last one.
All right. Now, once again, this one is one that for me personally has great nostalgic value. You ever watch a movie that you know you have not seen in years, and it feels so familiar? It's like you just watched it last month, you know. I had that feeling with this movie. This is a film from the early 90s, so I can't fully say I grew up with it, but I was young when it came out. And it is one of the first notable credits for Elijah Wood, and also notable as one of the few Kevin Costner credits where he is not the star of the movie. And it's a film called The War. Yay. And this came out, like I said, early 90s. It's the director that did Fried Green Tomatoes, and that was a great movie too. And there was Thomas Newman, you know, so again, good pedigree overall. Mara Winningham plays the mother. It's strange because it was actually narrated by this kid's name in the movie is Stu. His sister is the narrator and technically kind of the main character, and she's played by Lexi Randall, who basically fell off the map a couple years after this movie came out. She was great in the part, but she only has a dozen credits or so. And then, of course, Elijah Wood just went on to be in everything. He's like a latter-day Kevin Bacon. And this is he's great in this movie, and Costner's really good. Basically, plays a war vet with PTSD who can't hold down a job. The kids are going about doing their thing that kids do. It's a coming-of-age film. A war drama, more accurately, a post-war drama. And it's just, it's a little schmaltzy, but generally really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. We loved it, my family. I have no idea how many times I saw it, but it must have been several, because when I watched it again a couple of weeks ago, I was like, I remember all of this. Even though I had largely forgotten it. So, it's kind of fun. It must have been almost 20 years since I've seen it. So, you know,
I keep looking at this film, and at that one, and there's another one that I keep saying that I keep thinking of another film, and that film I still don't remember. South Park did a parody of it, and I cannot remember it for the life of me. It's basically, it was about these two factions of kids that go to war with each other, and
that's a big part of this.
And they like build these elaborate structure, and they're throwing things at one another and stuff like that, and I can't remember.
You might be thinking about that.
I am thinking about that.
You might be, because it's
been a while
Because basically the main kids, they have this tree house that they really go all out and they make this great thing, and this other group of kids who are like the basically bottom of the barrel trailer trash kind of kids, who, these kids aren't rich, but they end up in this major battle with each other. So you may be thinking about the same movie.
Maybe I am.
It's just again, it's probably one of those films that a lot of people saw back in the day.
So long.
Yeah,
it's if I'd seen it, it would have been because I remember it back in when I was younger, and that like child times, maybe teens, but I can't remember. But that's it for this time around, and we will be back with the pickups as per, and I hope to see you there.
All right.